Hey guys, it's Dennis here with Collider Games. I'm also joined by
What's up, guys? It's your boy D here.
yeah, and it's a big week for gaming as we've launched not one but two next gen consoles. We had the Xbox Series X/S on November 10th, and we just had PlayStation 5 to be exact, on November 12th. Bunch of new games obviously came out with all of these with the new consoles. Not a lot, like they aren't like exclusive to the particular next gen consoles, but they're being released at the same time so that people can kind of take advantage of these new consoles. I know you got a PS5. Was it a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
About a week and a half ago now. It's been about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks now, I want to say.
Yeah.
I'm loving it. Like it's been definitely been a game changer. Like instead, like I've been wanting to play more and more stuff. Like I haven't got tired of it, haven't gotten like, bored with it or anything like that. It just keeps amazing me. And I think it is partly just because I haven't been used to good, or I mean like the PS4 graphics are great, but I haven't been used to this big of an upgrade jump
Uh-huh.
since the PS3 to the PS4. So it's been a while. So my eyes are still like everything's still pretty breathtaking to me right now.
Yeah. And then, with these two launches, there's been a lot of like random stuff. I mean, first off, obviously, it's going to be like the biggest, most sales ever for a PlayStation launch ever. It's the most sales for Xbox launch ever. It's like every generation. I guess it's just expected. Um, in terms of like hype or people talk, I know a lot of people are like talking about wanting like a PS5 or Xbox Series X. I haven't actually encountered that many people that actually own it. Maybe that's just me. Like, well, how
I've
are
seen a
you? How about you?
Yeah, I've seen a couple people that actually have it, like actually have gotten it, but for the most part, it's just been more. I've seen people either having success finally being able to buy it or getting into that pre-order wait room and finally be able to like buy it, and they're not, of course, not going to get it this week, but soon, like within the next couple of weeks. But I haven't seen too many people with when it comes to the PS5. I think I've seen more people taking pictures and showing off that they have the Xbox Series X or S, but not so much for the PS5 as of yet. I think we'll probably start seeing those more as of next week. It's interesting though, but I have been seeing a lot more Miles Morales coverage, a lot more people playing that game because it is PS4. It is available for the PS4, which is something they kind of like they marketed, I guess, but they didn't
Mm-hmm.
really like put that as the front of the game because they wanted you to experience it on the PS. Like that's what they're like. That's how they're selling it. It's like a PS5 experience. So a lot of people, it seemed like a lot of people didn't realize that it was available on the PS4, and they're like, oh, I can play this like yeah, I don't have to wait a few months. So it's cool to see more people being able to actually jump into it. But as far as PS5 goes, haven't seen that many as of yet.
Yeah. Well, to go along with that topic too, there was like obviously the scalpers. Like if you go on eBay, you can see like people are scalping a PS5 for $1,400, $1,700, around that price point, which I remember in the last generation, generations before this always happened, and you had, outrageous like I'll sell you my new PS5 for $20,000 or some shit like that. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I love gaming and whatever. I'm not willing to fork out X amount of dollars just so I can get it sooner, you know?
yeah, like that's rent, bro. Like a whole month rent for that. No, not I'm not about scalping. I'm not about doing any of that. Like I rather just wait, be patient. Wait a couple months and then get it. I, Thankfully, I do have a PS5, but
Yeah.
we can't review the Xbox yet. So I'm hopefully now the next thing I will try to get is a Series S.
Okay. And speaking of the Series S, we have this kind of fact. Well, actually there's two things. One is like there was all these like they're saying that these Xbox Series X were like smoking, but they're saying there was a lot of people just blowing vape smoke
Yeah,
into their Xbox, making it look like it's like overheating or whatnot, and it's just all fake. The other part, when you mentioned the S, is that both the Series X and Series S owners, 70% of them have Game Pass. which is an
Damn.
interesting fact, which makes sense because really, when it comes to the Xbox next gen console, until probably next year or whatnot, when you have Halo come out and some more exclusives that take advantage of the hardware, the best reason to have an X and S is because you have Game Pass and you can play all those games, for relatively cheap. So it makes sense that most people who are buying it are already Game Pass owners. So even on day one, let's say they don't buy a single game, they can still, take advantage of using the service.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. That's a pretty impressive number. I'm excited to
Um,
see what goes from that.
so also I just maybe because maybe I have sour grapes because I don't have a PS5, I don't have Xbox Series X. I did buy the Quest 2. Um, to you, I'm assuming you're gonna have kind of the opposite perspective because you already have one and you've played it and you're saying it's awesome. I don't have like the highest motivation to go and get. I'm talking about even if, let's say, there were no shortages and I could just buy a PS5 right this moment or buy a Xbox Series X right this moment and just have it delivered to me right now. I just don't have I don't know what's the word for it. Like, I'm not clamoring to like, okay, I'm going to go get, I know I'm going to get both of them eventually. There isn't anything right now that's like pushing me towards that. Is it because I don't have one that I'm saying this and I can't get one anyway? So if I say it doesn't really matter or I don't know, you've played, you have the PS5, you played
I think
Miles
it,
Morales.
Yeah, I think it's kind of I guess I want to say I was in your boat at first before. Like I was always planning on getting a PS5 regardless, especially because of Miles. Like I was hope like my original goal was like hopefully day one, maybe like a couple weeks from now when funds are looking right. But thankfully I was able to get it. But before that, I kind of was in your same ballpark of like not being super in a rush to get one of these devices. But now after playing it, like I definitely like looking back, like if I could tell my previous self, the past self, like bro, you need to make sure you get that pre-order. I would definitely do that because now I'm like I truly am like I can't stop putting it down. Like it's like all right, it has to,
Nice.
especially because of the user interface. Like I feel comfortable like just leaving it like on the TV on like the user face that it has, especially with the when you do incorporate the media apps and things like that. It just feels like another hub. Like I personally like it more than the Amazon Fire TV setup. How they have their setup for the Amazon Fire TV. I know it looks different on different TVs, but for me, I personally like the UI and the interface and the sleek design of how they have the PS5. So I personally, yeah, like I said, like now looking back at it, definitely I think it I'm grateful that I have it because the hype was real, especially getting to really play these older games. Like I just started playing God of War and shit looks beautiful. Like it looked beautiful on PS4, but now I'm actually going to be able to finish it because I got halfway through. PS4 busted. I had a whole thing. I had to switch over to Team Xbox for a while. Was Team X. I'm still Team Xbox, but now we're back at Sony right now. It's a Sony household in this apartment complex. But yeah, so I'm excited to like experience that full again on the PS5.
Well, let me ask you something. Maybe this is also a reason why I'm not as hyped right now. Is I don't have a 4K TV. I've got the highest resolution I have is my computer monitor, which is one of those almost 4K but not quite 4K. What do they call it? 1440p or whatever. Well, 14. Well, it's not 1440p, but it's 1440 on the horizontal or whatever lines. So it's like 3000 by 1440 or so. It's 3000 something, 3800. I forgot the exact number, but anyways, it's close to 4K, but not quite 4K. Maybe that's another reason why I'm not as motivated to go out and get it. Maybe if I had a 4K TV, I'd be like, all right, let me see this thing on a 4K TV. But
yeah, I feel like that definitely that has to be a factor in some of these people's minds. Is like if you don't have a 4K TV, I couldn't see it being as like that. You can still definitely see a big difference, but not like seeing like the crispiness, like the full HD value that is presenting you. Because like you said, I have one of the monitors that's like not fully 4K, but it is quality. But actually putting it on my 4K TV, I was like, God damn! Like got up to so close to the screen. I was like, why is it? Why do I feel like I can jump in there right now? Like it was extremely clear. So I think that definitely is a factor because it's like, all right, if I don't have a 4K TV, damn, now I have to shelve out and buy like I have to put 250, 300 more dollars into investing into this property so I can get the full experience out of it. So it's like maybe now you have to like save up for a 4K TV, then you get the 4K TV, then you get the PS5. So that's an interesting factor to consider as well because I know like 4K TV is becoming more and more normalized, but it's still not like everybody has it. And just now,
Mhm.
now they got 8K TV. They got 8K on the PS5 box. The boy was like, I don't even. How are we even going? I don't. We won't even. How? When are we going to get there? Like, when am I ever going to use this right now? But I can't wait till when we do get to that point where I can utilize the 8K potential on this.
Yeah. And then they released the Spider-Man Miles Morales launch trailer that came out. Pretty cool. Checking it out. I'm assuming because you've already played it and finished it that the story is much more engaging than. I mean, this trailer's fine. It looks good, but it's like they don't really tell you that much. They're like, "Ooh, evil corporation, blah blah blah." But I'm assuming once you get into the game, it's much more engaging than that.
Yeah, they've done a good job, I think, of like trying to like market it and still show action without giving too many story details because like right off the back, once you're like within the first 30 minutes of it, there's spoilers, there's like character details, there's characters that haven't been revealed or anything like that. So it's hard to kind of market this game from a story perspective because the story itself is quite shorter than the original Spider-Man game. So it's like, all right, we only have this much of a story to tell in the first place, so we can't like reveal anything, any real plot points without like giving something away. So I can see why it's a little bit harder for them to market it. But yeah, the story itself very personal, very character driven. There are some cameos, there are some surprises that I did not see
Mhm.
coming that I think Spider-Man fans will enjoy. And like I said in my actual review, this is not a DLC. This is not like one of those little bonus packs that you
Mhm.
got from the original Spider-Man. It does feel like a fully fleshed out game. It's yes, of course, shorter, but I feel like I gotten more out of this short story than I have with 60 $70 games that I have purchased in the past that have been longer. So definitely I personally would think it's worth the money.
Okay, cool. Just from the trailer, it's like, yeah, the action looks cool. The story, just the enemies. I guess in my mind, the enemies look a little generic. So I'm assuming there's more behind that in the actual game.
Yeah, there's like there's basically two forms of bad guys, and the story itself is kind of like these two bad like you have Roxxon versus the Tinkerers people, so it's basically them two versus each other, and then Miles himself is kind of in the middle of like, all right, I
Hmm.
have to stop them from fighting each other because their stuff is going to ultimately destroy the world. So it's kind of like you have those two sets of bad guys, and you see different variations of each of those, but it's basically those two sets versus each other, and then of course you have the besides those two big robbers, you have like the actual like street thugs and people that
Hmm.
break out of prison and things like that. So there's like I guess three different types of bad guys that you will encounter throughout. And then
Nice.
the bosses, of course.
Yeah. And then another game that launched with these next gen consoles is Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It's getting pretty good reviews. People aren't saying like, "Oh, it's amazing masterpiece," but people are like, "Oh, it's pretty good. It's like Assassin's Creed, but like they're really stepping more into the RPG elements with like open world and being able to like customize a lot of aspects to it. There's you can be a female or a male, and you can switch as you're playing it. But so far, things have been pretty positive. I know there's some bugs. People have some bug issues with the game where there's some crashing. There's some graphical glitches here and there. They said it's nothing like crazy, but it's definitely noticeable, and it's just one of those things that unfortunate to see. But when you have these games of this scope, that kind
Mm-hmm.
kind of uh kind of happens. You can buy the game for like $50. It's not $60, so it's at least it's at a price that is a little more reasonable, a little more budget friendly for people.
Do
Um,
you? I'm not sure. Do you know if it's because I know they're still doing like private beta testing and it is accessible to some people. But do you know if it's available on the Luna? Because I know it said it was going to be on Luna
Don't
for
know.
free, but I
Not
still know they're
sure.
like in the
Yeah.
early stages of like access to the Luna itself.
Yeah.
But I'd be interested to see if there was any if they did release it for free for them and how the turnout was.
Yeah, I'm interested just in general of how that whole service goes, join Amazon joined the competition of Google Stadia, which I've never heard a single person tell me they use. Like, have you met
No,
anyone that uses Google Stadia? I have
no.
not. Uh, Amazon Luna is new, so I can't, say, okay, it's good or bad or whatever. xCloud, I've seen people use, and that's just an extension of Game Pass, anyways. I think that's just the natural progression of where Microsoft and where they want Xbox gaming to go.
Hmm.
But yeah, we'll see. Speaking of the price, though, this brings me back to this other article that this was in a report from Bloomberg that Sony had talked about raising the price even beyond the $70, because right now all the next gen console games are $70, which is $10 higher than the $60 that we're used to. And before $60 it was $50. I mean, $50 kind of was the standard for a long time. That was
Hmm.
like even back in like the Genesis 16-bit era. It was $50 for a long time. And I think once they went to like Xbox 360, PS3 time, I think that's when they jumped to the $60, and now it's the 70 for this next generation. But apparently, Sony had been talking about maybe even higher, 75, $80, which is, I don't know, it's getting a bit much, right? Like,
Yeah, those
I understand.
that's groceries, bro. Like that's 80, 70, $90. That's like that's groceries for a couple. You can that's a grocery for a couple weeks, man. That's like an investment if you're trying to. If we're starting to get up to those prices, and although like I said, like is if because the gaming technology is getting better, of course the games are going to get better, and so yes, there is you're putting more technology, putting more resources into making these games. So yeah, it would be you'd have to put more money into selling them to see a return of it, like a profit. So I get it on that front, but at the same time, bro, it's like $70 for a game, like that's a lot. That's a commit. This better like moving forward for the rest of, and I'm hoping like I'm playing it out there for the rest of every Sony game they make moving forward for this next gen. If it's $70 or more, it better be a contender for game of the year. Like they better be hit after hit. Like these better be some knockout games, like 30, 40 hour games, man. Like for that much, I'm just saying, like I don't know, but I'm glad they kept it to 70. Like hopefully it doesn't
Yeah.
it stays at that point for the bigger games. So like they said, they'll it looks like they'll be lenient with it. They didn't charge $70 for Miles, which would have
No,
been
$50. To be clear, that Miles Morales is $50 because it's a
yeah.
shorter game. How many hours do you think you clocked on Miles? I'm talking about like,
Just if we're just talking about the story itself, and
yeah.
I put it on spectacular mode, so it was a lot more challenging from this at the novice, like you're doing it on normal regular. So I want to say like 10 to 11 hours specifically just on the story, and that's if you don't do any of the side quests, don't
Uh-huh.
do any of the crime missions, just the story itself on super hard mode, 10 to 12 hours. But I want to say if you're playing it on normal mode and you're just burning through the story, you can get through it like 7 or 8, maybe eight or not
Hmm.
7 or 8, like around that ballpark.
Okay. I mean, $50. I think that's reasonable amount for
I think
that.
it's reasonable just because of the suit, like getting to play as all those different suits, and then on top of that, the side quests themselves, like they don't feel like throwaway quests. They actually feel like you get more of Miles's character, and it is more those all of the side quests in a way are more community driven, more based around like you helping citizens around the city. So you got to get that Spider-Man feel you get from Peter Parker. So I think it's a great little investment for if you're wanting to see more of Miles get fleshed out as a character. And then the Ultimate Edition. So the $70 edition of Miles, or that version, does come with the full game of the original version of 2018 version remastered. And then yeah,
Mhm.
Peter Parker looks a little different. You get used to it, but so that it's like two games in one for 70. So I think that one is a good deal in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's Sackboy. Big Venture's going to be $60. Obviously, some of the bigger games like Like Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War is going to be $70. Same with NBA 2K21, which, that one I'm a little kind of, you know, just because any sports game that's like, I know they add extra features every year, but still the game engine is, I don't know, pretty similar. Okay, maybe just because it's like they're jumping to the next generation, maybe they have to put more resources into the graphics or whatnot. But I'm assuming next year's PS5 and Xbox Series X NBA 2K22 is probably gonna be the same price for $70. I mean, 70. I mean, we're heading towards the $100 games. Like at what point are we gonna be like, okay, $100, man? That's a lot. People have to remember consoles. I mean, I know there's inflation and everything like that, but like, I remember at some point, like you get like a Sega Genesis for like $150. I remember they were like $200, but eventually they were like $150 was that like sweet spot to buy a console. Now, if games themselves are coming out to be,
I don't like
$100.
this is where I personally think Xbox has the better thing with the Game Pass. Like
Gamepad.
now,
Okay.
I would say PlayStation moving forward, especially if they're going to keep these prices. I would say like for them, definitely they need to put more investment into the PlayStation Plus and maybe beef up the subscription, like charge more for the subscription service. For that way, these games don't need to be that much, and they can put those games onto the service themselves. Kind of do the same model as the Game Pass for PlayStation Plus. Because if you like, if you're telling them like if they put Miles Morales, like put like made that one of the title, like they have Buzz Snacks as a free PlayStation Plus launch, but like you have a big game like Miles as a PlayStation Plus subscription based launch for your service, and the subscription service is like maybe 15 $17 or something like that. I think a lot more people would be like, oh hell yeah, let me sign up for this service and get to play as Miles. So I'm going to be interested to see what Sony does now that they've got the exclusives down, they've got the storytelling down, they've got the console down. Now it's more about trying to beef up their subscription service, where Xbox kind of has that market and has that kind of dominated at this moment when it comes to like
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, right now, okay, an Xbox Game Pass just for console is $9.99. You can get Ultimate for $14.99. Let's say you get $14.99 Ultimate because that way that includes EA Play. That's $15 a month for a year. That's $180. If you divide that by $70, which is the new next gen console prices, that's 2.5, which means if you're going to play at least 2.5 games, you're already making your money back. Do you know what I mean? Like, especially because Xbox Game Pass, their first party games, when you're talking about Halo, Gears of War, probably whatever the next Fallout, Skyrim, all that stuff, Outer Worlds, day one, those are going to be available for you to play, not free, but for your subscription. So really, if you play more than 2.5 games a year and you like the games that are on the Xbox Series X, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. I currently do not have it because I don't have time enough to play all those games, but once I get an Xbox Series X, I'll probably get it. Plus, at that time, Halo will be out, and probably some more of these bigger first-party games that Xbox will have their exclusives will be out soon. So it'll be more worth it to me as of right now, where I won't be touching it at all. So, yeah, it's just, I don't know. I agree with you. I think this is more the future of where you want to go.
And it's not like PlayStation, because on the PS5 and on their PlayStation Plus now, like with the introduction of the PS5, they do have some iconic classic games on there from God of War to the spot to the original Spider-Man, to things like that. Like those about 12 or so games, including Bugsnax, like I said, that people have a catalog to play for free now, that they have had it on the PS4, the PS3, or they missed one of the games on there. Now they do have access to those free games like Infamous Second Son. So if they just keep pumping up that PlayStation Plus subscription with better games, more iconic games from the past, as well as like maybe considering doing some other upcoming games, I think they'll slowly start building a nice nice catalog of free and also, pay for games that instead of like doing like, 75, $80 subscription services.
Hmm.
Maybe you do like for PlayStation, you do like, all right, have it on the PlayStation Plus. And if you want to get the deluxe version, if you want to get like the bundle package or something, you pay like $20, $30 more to do that. I don't know, man.
Yeah. So overall, yeah, I don't. I think this is the generation. I think that's going to change. Like at some point, I do think Sony's going to have to do something similar to Game Pass. I don't think the PS Plus is enough. I guess.
Yeah, especially if they have their digital, if depending on how hard they're going to try to push the digital edition of their PS5.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the next. Is what do we got here? Oh, Mass Effect. Two announcements here. The first one I had heard was like, oh, they're doing a remastered version for 2021. They're calling it the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. So it's going to be Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3 into a remastered collection for the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. What's interesting, I didn't even realize this, even being a Mass Effect fan. I had forgot that all three of them were on the same generation. For some reason, I think because of Dragon Age, because Dragon Age Inquisition, which is the third Dragon Age, ended up being split between Xbox 360 and Xbox One. It came out right when Xbox One came out, so it was split on both. But actually, Mass Effect was all on Xbox 360. So that means it is going to be a jump, from that generation to it's leaping over something. It's not like moving from just one generation to the next. It's skipping over one in terms of graphics, and it's one of my favorite game franchises. So I'm definitely excited about that. But the thing I'm more excited about is that there's a new Mass Effect project that at BioWare that's under development, and the veteran team from BioWare, which I assume is they mean the old school who actually worked on like the ones that you loved. Um, they released an image which looked pretty cool. It's like some shadowy figures. I assume one is a Shepard, but I'm not 100% sure. With a spaceship. Now, there was a fourth Mass Effect that wasn't part of the exact Shepard storyline called Andromeda that came out, but that got not so good reviews. I never played it just because I had heard not very good things about it. So I was like, I'm just not gonna play it. Are you interested at all in Mass Effect? You never played any of the Mass Effect games, have
No,
you?
I'm interested definitely when I saw this announcement, like it caught my eye, and especially now that like, it's going to be remastered on this when I inevitably do get a Series S, I will definitely jump into it because I'm from the perspective of I didn't have an Xbox 360, I just had an Xbox One X, but I played newer games versus going back and jumping into the older catalog, so definitely want to hold off and try to play it on the Xbox One X, or rather wait for the Series S to drop. I mean, it has dropped. Wait for this game to drop on Series S and then try to play it on that. But definitely interested. Just did missed out on it because I never had an Xbox growing up. It was always Team Sony.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next thing. We've got Ghost of Tsushima. They just kind of announced some new good news for it. It's the fastest selling original PS4 exclusive. 5 million copies sold since July. That's crazy.
Yeah,
July's
dude,
not that long ago.
that's ridiculous.
That's not
It's
even
amazing.
6 months.
Well deserved, man. Game of the year.
Yeah, it's a so Sucker Punch, who developed the game. It's the fastest selling. I mean, you have Last of Us Part 2 selling 4 million copies in 3 days, but that was already an established franchise, quote unquote. It's original franchise, but the game itself was a part two to something. So they're saying it's the fastest selling like original like debut. 5 million copies. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
I think yeah. Sorry, what do you mean cut you off?
No, no, go ahead.
I think they just had besides like the initial launch, I think they just had a good smart rollout from keeping the game alive and then dropping out of nowhere dropping the co-op multiplayer mode for free, which I think really was a big drive for more sales as well, because you might have had one of your friends that didn't play it at first, or might have had somebody that didn't really play it, but they incorporated a multiplayer mode, and you're like, bro, you have to get this now. Like you can play as a squad, you can play as a group, and get to kill demons and stuff like that. So I definitely feel like that had a big factor in it, because it essentially feels like a whole separate game in itself if you never played the story mode. So I think that's pretty cool, as well as just like, just the overall general hype of how everything is coming. I think they made the right move making this one of the last PS4 exclusives, because it seemed like they already had this in mind, that it would be transferred over to the PS5, because when I played it on the PS5, it looks crisper. It looks
Mm-hmm.
like it feels like it was made for PS5 in a way. Like the DualSense, it feels like they definitely had the DualSense controller in mind, because on different things I noticed when I was playing on the PS4 mode, in terms of like feeling the vibrations and when certain things would rumble and things like that, felt that to a whole nother level on the DualSense controller, and it felt more specific to some of the moves that the samurais were making when we were in combat. So this playing it on the PS5 definitely made it an even more worthy contender for Game of the Year, in my opinion, because it feels even more amazing, but it looks so beautiful. Like this is another game that, in my opinion, just from the PS4 jump that I had to jumping onto it on the PS5, is just a whole another level of crispness that I was not aware of. So definitely think that has another factor into why it's selling so much. And I'm excited to see what the sell will turn out to by the end of the year, especially now that it is a PS5. Like, you can upgrade to the PS5 version if you do have it.
Okay. Um, all right. Another thing that came out was Medal of Honor Above and Beyond Gallery trailer. That's a VR game that's coming out to the Oculus platforms on December 11th. It's it's one of those games that it's for the Rift. It's using the PC power, but if you have a Oculus Quest with a link cable, you can play it too. It was my second most anticipated VR game of the year. Um, behind Half-Life Alex. To me, it's funny because Population One, you and me love that game. It's my second favorite VR game of the year so far, but I wasn't expecting it to be. I wasn't. I
Yeah.
honestly wasn't that anticipating Population One. I was like, oh, I don't know, man. This looks like it's gonna make me sick or whatever. But loving that game. But Medal of Honor Above and Beyond. This gallery trailer. Did you check out this trailer? It's like the
Yeah, I
one where it
watched
kind of shows the behind the scenes stuff.
a little featurette. Like, I watched a little bit of it, and I'm definitely like, I'm Medal of Honor, not too big of a fan, but getting to see it and experience it in VR, it kind of reminded me of like a more advanced version of Blood and Truth. And like you said, that it is required. You have to have a PC version of it. So I know
Yeah,
those quality graphics are going to be crisp. I'm
yeah.
interested to see, will this be on the Quest 2 as well, or would you just have to? It's a PC only game, PC VR only game.
Currently it's a PC only game, but I forgot if it was in a Reddit AMA or some sort of forum. One of the developers said that they were thinking about possibly porting it over, but they haven't decided yet to make it Quest or Quest 2 compatible. Maybe just Quest 2. I think there's going to be a point in time where there's going to be Quest 2 only games in the future, just because it's a much more powerful processor.
Uh-huh.
Still not equal to the PC, but they said they're more concentrated on finishing this for the PC, releasing it, and then maybe doing a Quest 2 version for everyone else. But for now, it's just going to be through the link
Oh
cable. And
yeah,
I played a demo of this. What was that? Oh man, a year ago at Oculus Connect 6, me, Jack, and Mark played it. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. And I'm very excited. To me, this is one of those like AAA titles. Like there isn't many like AAA titles yet for VR. Like Half-Life Alex is one of them. I feel like Walking Dead Saints and Sinners was one, had that AAA feel where it's not like, oh, it's just a VR game, so I'm just gonna whatever. It's like, no, we're really doing this, and this is one of those games that looks like, no, they're really doing this. So I'm excited for it.
yeah, I'm excited as well. I just hope that they do, at least for they have the porting for the Quest 2 up in mind sooner rather than later, because I know there's a lot of people who actually have a Quest 2 now, or Quest, versus having a whole ass PC to put a link cable in, or to have a
Mhm.
Rift to actually use it. So I definitely hope have the be able to port it at least to the Quest 2, so more people can play it because it does look incredible.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And also, I don't know if it'll work or not, but like I've done it with Half-Life Alex, I've done it with some other games. Some games don't work, but if you use the virtual desktop, you can quote unquote play it tetherless.
Mm,
There are, obviously it's not going to be as crisp as with the link cable, and also you don't know if it's compatible or not because with the virtual desktop and whatnot, there's certain games that are, certain games that aren't. So it'd be cool if this one is, but either way, I'm really excited for this game. It's so many good games coming out for VR. We have the Tales from Galaxy's Edge coming out next week, the Star Wars
yeah,
game. So
that drops on Thursday. Yeah, so it looks pretty good. Like I'm excited for it, especially it's in the Quest 2 mode. I'm excited to see what that looks like.
yeah, Jurassic World Aftermath. I think that game is coming out sometime soon as well. I don't know if there's a release date yet for it, but
I
it's
don't
just
think it had a release date.
yeah. I guess for me, like playing having the Quest, it's crazy because I played or not played. I experienced Oculus the first time when. Do you remember Interstellar? Christopher
The
Nolan's
movie,
Interstellar. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
They did a kind of a branded thing where they had these Oculus experiences where you wait in line at. They'd set up this like Oculus thing at like movie theaters or at like random places, and you would wait in line. It was free, and once you got in there, you could like experience being on the ship on Interstellar. And I did that,
Mm.
and it was cool. But like what we have now is like way, way beyond that. And that was like not that long. When was Interstellar? Interstellar was
2014. Am I tripping? If it's 2014, I'm a
2004. Yeah,
genius.
6 years
Bro,
ago.
let's go. Let's go. I know my movies. I
Yeah,
just
nice.
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's 6 years ago. I'm talking about it's like vastly, vastly different now. And like to me, like being able to play these games or having these experiences like Vader Immortal or whatnot. And soon we're gonna have what you call it, Tales from that Galaxy's Edge. And it's like you're having this whole like almost theme park experience in this little headset. You know what I mean? It's like you don't even have to
Yeah.
go drop your $100 at Disneyland. You got Disneyland right here,
Yeah, VR, like it's and like I remember you say you had like a moment of like when you truly got VR playing Half-Life. For me, it was a couple months ago when I was playing like fully like actually going hard on advanced mode with Beat Saber, and I'm just like I felt fully like actually immersed, and I was like, all right, I get it. Like it clicked, everything clicked in the VR world. I was like, this is what it's supposed to be. But like this is you're supposed to feel immersed, and you're supposed to feel like you're in a whole nother world. So thankfully, like the Oculus Quest 2, they couldn't have come at a better time. And just the future of VR now, more and more people are having to not having to, but more and more people are getting experience at firsthand now that we're all indoors and locked in. And I'd rather people be in a virtual world rather than
yeah.
being outside in public. And because it's this thing pandemic is keep spiking, it seems like people aren't taking it
Because
seriously. So
everyone thinks it's over, and they're like not wearing masks, and they're running around like
they
crazy.
just
It's
have
like,
they have fatigue. It's ridiculous. So I'm glad VR is like can keep people in and you're
yeah,
actually getting immersed in a whole nother world. So hopefully just keep getting bigger and bigger and more people can afford it and it gets cheaper so everybody can be in a virtual world rather than this crazy world we live in right now.
yeah. All right, cool. That's all I have. Do you have any news topics you want to talk about for this week?
Not so much. Yeah, just been doing PS5. Bug Snacks, pretty fun game. Didn't have too
Expand.
high of expectations from it, but it's random as hell. But it's pretty fun. Miles is dope. Trying out some of the old school PS4 games, and we'll have some coverage hopefully soon. We'll see. That's in the works. But all in all, yeah, the PS5 is a beast of a console, and the gameplay on it is dope. And I'm excited to. I tested out Apex Legends Season 7. I guess that's some other news. Legends Season 7 is still underway. Tested out Horizon character a little bit. She's dope. But as far as other news, no, man, that's pretty much it for me. I'm excited to see what the overall turnout will be for the Miles game in terms of copies sold. So we'll look forward to that next week. We can talk about that. But yeah, I'm excited to see what everybody has to say after this PS5 Xbox Series X weekend transpires. Like it feels weird too because like although these games like everything's been launched and it just feels like there's been a little wave of like just fatigue of from the election to the pandemic to everything. I feel like that might also have a factor of why you're not in a rush to get a console because it's just been a
Yeah, and
emotional
maybe
to where
why
like
the hype isn't as big because we've been.
you can't focus on
I
to
mean
like
yeah, I mean between the election and the pandemic, it's like there's just so much over our heads, thinking about all that
mm.
stuff. But thankfully, we have games as an escape for all that stuff. Dorian, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Dorian Parks and Rec, and you can find me on Instagram at Dorian Parks, and you can find me right here.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, Instagram, Dennis.tzng. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Collider Games. The podcast feed, I know it's been down for the last couple weeks or so. We're trying to find a new home for that. The server/host that we had before, we're not with anymore. So we got to find a new home for that. But I'll let you guys know once that is up. So until next time, we'll see you guys later.